Okay, so interesting problem here. Went to drive the car today, turned the ignition, and the indicators came on. And doesn't matter what I do now, ignition off, on, whatever, they stay on. And yesterday there was a really bad storm, had the window down, not a lot, but enough that the storm blew, well, basically soaked inside the car. And it drove fine the whole day, but when I got home, that was on. And it wouldn't go off, even with the kill switch inside. I thought, okay, relay underneath the bonnet, no worries, I can fix that. So I just disconnected it for now. Now today, so the next day after that problem, now this, now they stay on. So I'm assuming that it's my combination switch behind the steering wheel there, the one for the indicator and high beams. That's the first place I'm going to be looking. I don't think it's my ECM or BCM, whatever you want to call it, but it could be. I don't think so, because the car still starts and everything functions fine. It's just the indicators now, so water's gotten into somewhere and it's causing a problem. Okay, so you can see that my gauges aren't working. I've removed the fuse to the alternator, and so all the gauges aren't working, stereo's not working, the clock's not working, but everything else works. Okay, so lights and everything, it's all working. But when I put this fuse in, I'll give you a look what happens. Okay, so fuse is back in, gauges are all working, indicators aren't on yet. As soon as I go to use the indicators, I'll wait for it, it's going to trip it. Now it wants to play. Alright, I have a feeling that my alternator is overcharging. Let's have a look. Yeah, there it goes. For a second there the indicators went on and off. I don't know if the camera caught that quickly. At the moment it's reading 14 volt, which that's fine. So there it goes, it's now mucking up. But it still reads 14 volts, so it's not the alternator. Oh, now they went off again. Now it's going to work again. Geez, that's a weird problem that is. It'd be nice if the problem stayed so I could isolate it. I was going through all the relays and I was going through all the fuses, and I found that by taking the alternator fuse out, everything worked. So basically the system wasn't getting a full charge. But it's not telling me that the alternator is a problem. Oh, there it goes again. Weird, eh? Alternator, 14 volt. But I'm gonna have to get a multimeter on this, but all my tools are currently at my mate's place, so I'll have to bring them home, as we're busy working on a different car. But the alternator, 14.6, now it's all working again. Look, it's gone back off. How weird is that? Here I was going to make a video about finding the problem and fixing it. It would appear, as long as I don't use the indicator, I don't have a problem. If I pull the relay out, so that's the relay for the indicators right now, it makes no difference there. That was the first thing I looked at, was the relays. And if I leave that out, see if it comes good in a second. They were reading 14, 13.9, 14. Okay, that's off. Even with the relay out for the indicators, the switch tripped it. I still think it's got to be the combination switch. So that's going off again now. That's okay. High beam, low beam, that's okay. Alternator's reading at 13.9, 14, so that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to use the right hand indicator. Okay. I wonder if I pull the indicator fuse, if I still get the same problem, I'll do that. That's all looking good. What errors do I have? No errors. That's good. Kind of, I guess. I'll just see there. We'll go back to that. I just saw a flash up here. Oh, look at that. See that? There's something going on. Search for errors. I was wondering if that's tripping something that happened. Isn't that weird? I'll search for errors. How bizarre. No, it's not in the indicators. Alright, it's scanning away there and that's occasionally blinking still, so I'm going to swap out the scan tool. Put this other one in. Highly unlikely, but I mean, like, things fail. No, even with the scan tool disconnected, let's no scan tool connected at all now. Scan tool in. Makes no difference. I'll see what I can do about unplugging that combination switch. I'm going to take all this shroud off and have a good look underneath here, unplug cables and whatnot. Just a process of elimination until I find the problem. The ECM or BCM is behind here. I don't think it got wet, but I'll probably have to have a look at that as well. I've cleaned up that earth. Now the reason why I went to the earth first instead of pulling apart the steering column is because I helped an old mate out once before with his let's say Opel, and yeah, he had similar problems with the horn and so forth, and it turned out just to be a simple earth. So I went and cleaned that earth up, and now everything seems to be working. I don't get no weird flashing on the indicators. Everything's working properly, and yeah, I think that's all it was. But for another test, I'm going to disconnect that earth and see if it all mucks up again like it was doing. But so we've got no errors here, and the dashboard, it shows everything's functioning properly there. So yeah, I'm going to disconnect that earth now and see if the indicators play up again. Now I don't need to start the car for that. And the thing was, I was sus on the alternator as well at the beginning, because when I disconnected the fuse to the alternator, everything worked. But when I had the fuse in, now it didn't matter if the car was running or not. When the fuse was in, the problem was there. So I was like, well, it can't be the alternator, because if the car's not running, then how can it be the alternator? It's a hidden problem. Why did it go away? I'll keep on going, see if I can recreate the problem and try and work it out. I'm not happy with it yet. Okay, there it is. After a few minutes of the car running, the lights are on, and I said I didn't have to have the car running, but the problem wasn't happening, so I started the car anyway, and it's still, the problem wasn't there, but now it is. So now, while the car's running, I'm going to reconnect that earth. The plot thickens, eh? Headlights are on, everything's working. Oh, of course it does that. Turn the headlights off, headlights on. What was happening a second ago, there we go. What was happening just now before I decided to flick the high beam was, when you turn the high beams on, everything worked. When you turn them off, everything didn't. But now it's gone back to, wants to play funny buggers. Alright, still trying to work out where this problem is. See if I can show you here. So the car's turned off right now. Turn the headlights on. Everything's working. Headlights off. Ignition off. Everything comes on. Ignition off. Could it be in the ignition? I don't think so. Got parkers on. Everything's working. No hazards. Parkers off. Hazards. Ignition off. Unbelievable. Why is it doing that? Parkers on. Parkers off. Ignition, those accessories. Ignition. Ignition off. Ignition on. Ignition off. Ignition on. Ignition off. So bizarre. Okay, so I had everything disconnected here, including the ignition, and the indicators were still on. I pulled the hazard light fuse and the indicators went off. I put it back in and now it's doing what it should again. I've got everything here disconnected and the lights haven't come on, so now I have to reconnect them to try and get the problem to come back again. Because like I said, I had all these wires disconnected and the lights stayed on anyway, so it's not in the combination switch like I thought it was, which is a good thing. And if that fuse out, everything's working, so it can't be the BCM. Oh geez, what is it? I might bring the fuse box down and see if there's anything going on behind that, but I doubt it. I'll just have a look anyway. Okay, so I've given all the connections here a spray with Inox. You can use WD-40, whatever you prefer. I just like this stuff. All the connections down here as well. I've given everything a nice spray, so we've got good connections. Then thought maybe it's a central locking kit that I added. So I disconnected that and I reversed the changes I made on the BCM. Still didn't fix the problem. I don't think water could have gotten to the ECU because the ECU is over and under there. I haven't looked at it yet, but still. What I did find is if I disconnect the fuse to the alternator underneath the bonnet, the problem doesn't happen. And if I pull this plug out here, not this one, if I pull that out and plug it back in, the problem goes away. When I first did it, I thought that was the problem fixed, and I drove the car for a day and it wasn't a problem. Next day the problem's back. The lights all the indicator lights stay on and they're steady. Now it doesn't matter if I pull out the fuses for the The two middle ones there. Doesn't matter if I pull both of them out and the relay out for the indicators and the hazards, the light still stayed steady. So, because I thought, okay, all right, if the problem's with the hazards, remove the hazard fuse. If the problem's with the indicators, remove the indicator fuse. So I had them both out, and the relay out, and the indicator relay, and the problem was still there. I'm kind of like lost there. I'm thinking, is it just coincidence? Is it a bad earth, or is it a bad contact somewhere? I've been working on my car now for the last 3 weeks because it's really intermittent. Like today, it hasn't happened once. I've been trying to get it to happen, and it doesn't happen at all. But then, like yesterday, I couldn't get the stop happening, and I was looking for the problem, looking, and then eventually it went off, and then the problem's gone. And it's really hard to find a problem that it's there one day, not the next. And I'm like, well, I'm really lost. I can't take it on the road and start driving around and then suddenly both lights are on. So hopefully somebody's come across this before. Somewhere there's an earth point that needs to be cleaned up. So I'm still going to pull the stereo system out to make sure that all the contacts behind there are okay. And I'm going to have a look at the ECU. I'm going to add an earth to this line here. It's currently got a beeper that if I turn my lights on with the ignition off. So yeah, that's why you got tape there, because I got the beeper there to tell me that the lights are off. Tell me that the lights are on rather. And so I want to add an earth to this as well, an earthing point, and hopefully something like that. And I'll make a video when I finally come to a conclusion of the video, if the problem doesn't come back again, and go over what I've done. I'm also going to pull this fuse box up and take it out of here because it can lift up in this section here. I'm going to look underneath, see if there's any corrosion happening. Like I said, if I took out this fuse here for the alternator, I'll pull that connection out and plug it back in, the problem goes away. Sometimes it can go away for the whole day, like the connection side I did, and sometimes it just goes away for a couple of minutes and comes back again. But today it's not playing up at all. So I don't know, maybe water got into somewhere and it's finally evaporated out after that storm. I don't know. So if you've got any ideas of what else I can try, just throw them my way. If you already know how to fix, let me know. Appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.